So I'm getting hired.
I'm getting fired.
Sort of. Kind of.
Well, sort of. Kind of, sort of.
Kind of, sort of. I'll start with me. I just hit literally last week my first full year of being a freelancer for photo.
It's a pretty
video.
big milestone.
Big milestone. And I'll talk more about it later, but I'm pretty thrilled by it. It's been a journey, it's been a road, and I've learned a lot and I've met a lot of people along the way. But I don't want to overshadow what you're going through. So you're getting fired?
Yeah, well, I've been none of the words that I can choose are great. I was going to say demoted. Like I've been demoted, but yeah, just going back to freelance. Our whole team that works over at for Matt Diavella, we're all going freelance.
Yeah, I guess now it's with, not for.
Yeah, actually, good call.
He's now your client and not your employer.
Yeah, which technically, for tax reasons, he was never my employer.
Gotcha.
So
True. Gotcha.
But yeah, so it's an exciting plot twist, but also like I haven't freelanced in a couple of years. So
how are you feeling? How does this overall make you feel? I know that this is kind of a big shift out of nowhere, and I just want to kind of pick your brain of where your headspace is around it.
Yeah, it would have been cooler if it was like
planned and knew about it.
Planned thing.
Word.
But yeah, so sorry, what was the question?
How are you feeling about this shift?
Maybe that was a good enough answer to that of just blanking out. But nervous in general, I would say, but also very stoked to have like new time being afforded to my daily activities. Mm-hmm. Work with other clients, develop new skills. Like I've been saying over and over, even on this pod, that I like want to shoot more, want to get behind the camera, want to work on that whole genre of things, and possibly like other forms of creativity and other forms of work. You know,
are we going to see Lost and Founded or what's your
the music?
The music, yeah.
That was it.
Is that we're going to see a resurgence in music from Spenny T?
I might pick back up music, but that I don't know. I don't know.
I know it's all so fresh. It's like we talk about this quite a bit about being specific in the trajectory of what you want your career to be. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes whatever you kind of put out into the world, or even if you keep it to yourself, the universe usually will reward you by responding with what you're putting into it.
Right.
And I know you were telling me in private and kind of on the pod that you were wanting to have more time in your day, a little bit more autonomy in your day, and not have to strap yourself to the computer, always editing.
Yeah.
And then bada boom. Look what happened. It happened.
Yes.
Now, it could have happened at a more opportune time. Maybe
not tax season,
and maybe a couple months after you bought a brand new car as well.
Yeah. So yeah, everything just got the tax season.
That's a fun one.
Yeah. The tax season thing is going to be more of a weight on my mind right now. But yeah, 100%. Like you got to be careful what you wish for, because it will happen if you just keep putting your mind to it. So I'm stoked for what's ahead, but also if you need work done and you're watching this podcast,
you know where more of our energy is going to go towards now.
Yeah.
Freelancing and more creative art stuff.
Yeah. But even like helping with your stuff too. Like you have been freelancing for an entire year, and like every once in a while are like poking to be like, yo, can you take on extra work? And most of the time my blanket statement to everybody that's asked me that has been like, nah, because I don't need to. I just haven't worried about it. So I've been able to focus on like whatever I want to do. But I do think there's a lot more growth opportunities to saying yes to the right things.
Of course.
You know?
Yeah. You don't want to just take on work just to take on work. You want it to benefit you, be a portfolio piece, but also if it's a great connection, then that's also a huge reason why you would take on work.
Yeah. And I do think that is like the most beneficial thing that's really came out of this, that I'm finally at a point in my career that I get to say no.
For sure.
And that is a really interesting step, because I can't even tell you how long I've been doing this at this point, but I've always been like just on that, like, make money, say yes. And in the back of my mind, I'm like, I get to say no. And I'm like, I've never really hit that point until literally right now to be like, no. Now I can pick and choose because I know how far I can fall and I know how like high I can get to. So now it's about just like weaving that ebb and flow now that I've kind of like gone through the steps in motion.
I think that you're winning too because it's not like well, for one thing, you're not just getting let go. You're going to like a freelance structure with Matt Vela. So that already means that you will actually still have income. So you're not actually starting from ground zero. You actually have a deep like clientele catalog of people that you can reach back out to. You've still, like you said, you've had people reach out to you for multiple different jobs and you usually will say no. And it's as easy as hitting them back up and be like, hey, just so you know that I'm available. You know, I think that's actually quite a tactical thing that people should do is that it is totally okay to hit up your previous clients as long as there's a good relationship and just letting them know that you're available and that, or offering them if you've gained a new skill set, offering them this new thing that you could bring towards their business is always something that you should do, and always dive back into your old clients because you never know.
Even if it feels cheesy.
Even if it, yeah, sure, if it feels cheesy, but like if you already made a great relationship with them, you know, there's nothing wrong with going back and getting extra money and also with a new skill set. You know, say like, you know, you did a lot of work editing for different companies, but now if you were to go back to them and say, hey, I also offer video now on top of being an editor.
Yeah.
If you're interested and you want to work with us, let me know and I'd be happy to take a phone call with you at any time. Right. So, you know, there is more opportunity that, but what I'm saying is that you have momentum, you know, this is not something that will bring you stagnance. You're not going to stop. Maybe you're going to want to reflect and see where you want to go with this, but
totally. Yeah.
You have right the ball is like in your court and like it's inflated and you're ready to shoot in any way. You're going to throw some bricks. You're going to throw some absolute fucking bricks, but you're also going to swish some shit. Yeah. And you already have some things kind of lined up that are, you know, already exciting.
Yeah. I think that's the biggest lesson in coming to these kind of like, I don't want to say roadblocks, but like these turns in your life where like you start to go freelance, or like, I guess I was just going to say the same thing twice because like, or you get to go freelance. So it's like, and it's precisely that. You can look at it from both perspectives, but it's the ball is always moving, like you were saying. Like you're always going to a direction. It's never actually like, for a second I was just like, oh shit, the ball is dropping. And then I was like, wait a second, that's just my own perceived like reality. And if I just think about it like, oh my gosh, this is a massive opportunity, that's just the same thought, you know, and I can just overpower it with that. So it's all about perspective on that.
Absolutely.
And to acknowledge momentum too. It's just like, I'm not starting from scratch. I've been moving.
Exactly. That was like my big thing too when I first decided to go freelance. What was in my favor is that I had already been freelancing for several years, but I had never given my entire self to it.
Right.
So I didn't feel nearly as scared. I didn't have any clients at the moment that were like consistent, but I knew that my community would step up for me and put my name out there and letting the world know that this is what I do now full time. Yeah. It's been fruitful. So, you know, now.
And did it work?
I'm making money. I'm working right now, which has been great. And it's led to some really beautiful opportunities. And these same opportunities are going to come to you now. Yeah. But the thing that I urge you to do is just letting your people know. I know now. So like, how many times have I hit you up and be like, yo, you want to make some money on the side? And you're like, nah, I ain't got time for that. But now it's like, you could. And it's not even just editing now, right? Like there's so many jobs where like I need an AC or I need a first camera operator, and I want to work with people that I already have a relationship with, and we're family, so it's a no-brainer now that I know you're open to that. So let this work in your favor. And I was telling you in private, but when you told me this, I didn't feel stress for you. I actually strangely felt relief for you, because now this is exactly what you were looking for. It was the time and the autonomy of your day completely. And there's going to be moments that seem quiet for work, but those are the moments where you're going to really invest into these like crazy ideas that you had in your mind that will no longer just be crazy ideas in your mind and on paper.
Totally.
It's going to be things that you can actually explore and do.
Make tangible. Yeah. The most hilarious part about this is like just that the day overall, I was just feeling so chaotic, like chaotic neutral, in terms of just like my mind has just been so noisy. I don't know if this ever happens to you, but like you go through weeks or just a period of just not understanding, like, not that you're like distracted or anything, but your mind is just noisy and you're having a hard time like being like, where do I put my attention right now? Like, I have things to get done, I have responsibilities, but like, what's going on with me? Also, this chair is absolutely pissing me off.
I thought you had mice, bro. I was like,
so
what is
annoying.
squeaking?
It's me every time I'm leaning back. But I'm just kind of riffing off the word relief because that stuck with me a bit. And it's just funny that like before going through this, I was feeling very like just loud and noisy, and like I just couldn't really pinpoint my focus to one certain thing. And then as soon as like we were chatting about this whole thing, me and Matt, I just felt so much relief is a really good word for it, that I was just like, okay, here's the clarity. And it's like someone just like kind of popped the bubble to be like, be still and listen to everything around you, and just like, you know, you are in your environment for a reason, and just be still, and like things will happen on their own. Just like keep putting one foot in front of the other.
Absolutely.
So yeah, I don't know. Have you ever like really felt like that? Just like,
Dog, you're talking to someone whose mind is chaotic for the
you
past
texted me like 3 days ago that you're what did that text say that you're like,
you said, I think I told you something. I think I told you about getting the rate for a job that I wanted, and you said, hey, yo, get it. And I said, LOL jokes, operating through crippling anxiety. So I get you on the forefront,
man.
where my mind is always chaotic. And when you do have moments of clarity, it feels like stillness. It feels like peace. Yeah. So I know that, you know, your path right now doesn't seem clear, but the fact that it's an open road and an open landscape, I think that's awesome. And it's going to be really cool. And I think it's going to set up a sick summer. I think this summer is going to be fucking awesome, for work-wise and for fun-wise.
My therapist, on top of all that, challenged me because of all of what I was saying. Crippling anxiety. She was saying she like really wanted to challenge me on meditating, because I'm like not against it, but I'm just like, my mind just wanders too much. I'm just like, I'm just not that guy.
You're not that guy.
I'm not that guy, pal. So I if you're listening to this and you have any of the same kind of feelings that me and Nolan do, let's do a little meditation challenge.
Yeah, please. Like, we are open to even just telling us different ways to meditate, because I have the same problem. My mind runs off, and so we've talked about this a few times, but I didn't know, and we didn't know, that there's a percentage of people out there that don't hear their own voice
fucking
all
wild.
the time. And my partner, my fiance Teresa, is that person. She doesn't hear her voice. There's no internal dialogue. It's just, she's just present and still, and she reflects for sure, but she doesn't reflect in her own voice. Where you and I,
after saying anything,
bro, I hear my voice from the moment I wake up, and there's times where I forget to even talk to people, and I have to actually talk out loud to my dog, so I don't find myself getting crazy in my own mind, always having conversation.
Totally.
Like, T didn't even realize that I talk so much
because
of that.
Yeah,
and also when we first moved to each other, she had no idea that I talked to myself.
Totally, yeah.
But that's all I do all.
That's hilarious.
Long. So if there's ways that we can get out of our head and stop having this conversation with our minds, let us know. I find that one thing that did help me first crack the code into my own meditation practice was through visualization. So my therapist was always saying that instead of just like sitting down and closing your eyes and working on your breath work, which is like what typical therapy is or meditation is. He would say, try and transport yourself into a moment in time that you can play it back perfectly in your mind, that you see it through your eyes.
That way your mind is occupied.
Yeah. And it's like not even just visual, but it's also audio in your mind. Go to a place where you can hear the ambience around you and see it, feel it, and, you know, like whatever, taste it. So one for me is sitting at Kitsilano Beach in Vancouver, British Columbia. And I remember being there at sunset. It was a purple sky and the seagulls were flying through the wind. The waves were rushing against the shore. Teresa was next to me. And I remember taking like a brain picture, like just basking in it. And I use that as one of my examples for me to meditate. I transport myself.
Wouldn't that be so cool if you could just be like, click, with a little brain photo?
Man, that would be phenomenal. But we kind of do that. Like when we go on hikes, especially since our hiking season is usually in the winter season, because we're fucking nuts and not like regular people. There's not much sunshine, but when the sun does peek through the clouds, I've noticed you and I a few times, we both shut up and we close our eyes and we just let the sun's beams hit our face.
Vitamin D.
It's amazing, but those are the moments that I'm talking about though. It's like channeling those quiet moments is the things that help me get into a meditation practice, and it's called visualization.
Yeah, no, that's really cool. Yeah, that's precisely the reason that I'm just like, you know, I'm not going to sit on my floor cross-legged, listen to the like, so yeah, guided, or that seems like a really cool thing to explore too. But let's rewind and go back to, I think this thing kind of, the word momentum, I think, bridges both of what we're going through, because like you kind of like, for me, I feel like now I get to lean on my momentum, and for you, it's so crazy now that I'm saying it, because I'm like saying the same words, but they're meaning different things. Like for me, I'm leaning back on my momentum right now, and for you, when you started freelancing a year ago, you leaned forward on your momentum.
Yeah, I had to like create momentum almost. It wasn't like it wasn't something that was, I mean, I did have experience in freelancing because I had always been doing photo jobs here and there, but there was nothing that was really set up for me other than my community. But momentum for me, like leaning into, like forward into it, is a whole different thing. I feel like it's consuming a lot of more energy than it is than leaning back into it. I'm much less reflective on the work that's happening in front of me because I have to be fully present in it, and I'm just riding this wave. And it's a beautiful wave, and it's a lot of fun, and it's chaotic, but momentum is looking very different for you and I at the moment.
Yeah, it's crazy that it can just be described the same, that's just funny.
Yeah, like momentum is not synonymous for everyone. It doesn't mean the same. It doesn't have the same character.
Totally.
You kind of just have to characterize momentum in your own way and understand what it looks like for you.
You got to learn your own ebb and flow. And the very first time I was listening to this concept by, like, Stephen Pressfield was talking about the concept of like protecting your momentum, and I think it was Stephen Pressfield, and he was basically saying that like whenever you're ending something, you should be starting something. For him, for his specific like creative makeup, that's the way he works best. And I think it's 100% just what you just said, because some people need to stop, reflect on what they just created, or reflect on the busy time that they just had, really go into a period of rest, and then they feel revived. And I just really don't relate to that, but only through trial and error have looked back on being like, sure, I love resting and I love being filled up by those things, but I create way stronger when I'm just like constantly slowly chugging away at it, slowly chipping away at it, and like starting something when something else has ended. Because if I like, create a video and then just like put it out and be like, all right, let's all watch it.
Right.
Like weeks go by and I'm just like, well, what else now? And I'm still like waiting for this video to just be like, this is my, what is that called? Magnum opus? Is that like the thing?
Yeah.
Which is, that's just not how I operate, and I feel the best when I'm creating. So I need to understand that. And that for me at the core is momentum.
My momentum is vastly different. Where I was that first example that you were talking about, I release something and I give it space to breathe and I get to become reflective. And when my energy is restored, I can go back into it again. But part of my momentum process is having that time and space to breathe between things.
Yeah.
You and I have always been different that way. But that's also why we work so well together, because where I need the space, you pick up, and where I can give like my full creative heart into it, you're very like practical and understanding how to divide your time and making sure that things get done. That's always been one of our greatest assets together.
Yeah. And it's really, I think, tuning in just from trial and error and practice of like where you start to feel the process in terms of like, where do I feel filled up, or where do I actually enjoy the process? And it's in that like little zone, you know, of actually like working on it and tinkering. And because I know that I just like tinkering, I could just continually do that. You know, I don't actually need to like release anything. And
you are a tinkering guy.
Exactly, right?
Yeah.
Whereas like that's why like when we work together, it's such a nice ebb and flow, because you're like, okay, now let's actually have the moment where we reflect on this piece and enjoy it. Where I'm just like, okay.
True.
That was me tinkering for everybody listening. I was just like pretending.
I can give you a little insight in our friendship. Maybe not friendship, more so just a weird quirk that Spencer has. We watched this movie maybe 2015 called Demolition, and starring Jake Gyllenhaal. And Jake Gyllenhaal goes through, I think it was actually directed by Jean-Marc Vallée. Rest in peace to him.
Was it not Dana?
No, it was Jean-Marc Vallée.
Shit.
The guy did Dallas Buyers Club. But essentially, this man goes through grief of losing his wife. And the way that he copes with this grief is by demolishing or breaking things apart, like actual physical things like clocks or watches or
his
any
kitchen
consoles. And he figures out his house, and he figures out how they work from its core and how it's built back. And as we were watching this the entire time, back in 2014, I was like, this is Spencer. Spencer has the most incredible and most awful habit of like taking things and breaking it apart and just figuring out why it works. But that is also part of the way you work now too.
Yeah, totally.
It came at the cost of some of my fucking precious items that you never could put back together, but that's fine, because I now know that it was part of your growth period.
Yeah, totally. And it still always is. That's the way I get like hooked into things. I'm like, why does that work like that? And then you know?
I mean, that's why you're a certified DaVinci Resolve editing.
I'm dead.
What certification did they give you? You could teach it.
I took the first editing one, so I have an editing.
So if you need tips for editing from DaVinci Resolve, you already know Spencer Torok on YouTube. You know all of his tips are there in the YouTube Shorts format.
What else do you want to talk about?
That actually drained me a little bit. It was very one, I want to say that I appreciate your transparency and vulnerability on this platform. It's very hard to do, especially to strangers.
All 6 of them.
Hey man, things have been growing to our liking. TikTok is popping right now. Our YouTube Shorts are going. Everything's growing, and it's all because of this small little community that we are cultivating and is growing. And now we're leaning into our community even more to let them know that you are here making work.
You are important, and we can do hard things. That's
and we do hard
ripped.
things together. It's been good. Okay, but before we, just to pivot, what are some exciting things that you actually do have coming up? And we'll kind of go back and forth.
Yeah. Well, life moves fast.
Life does move fast.
And if you don't...
What? I asked you, what are you working? Like, what are things you're looking forward to? It doesn't even have to be work-wise, bro. Come on, chill.
What was the question?
What do you have on the go that is going to bring you excitement?
What do I have on the go that's going to bring me excitement? I have a few like actual real YouTube videos that have been floating around in my mind. So I'm going to...
I know about them too. One of them is really excellent.
I'm going to finally actually make them and work on, well, not technically work, but I'm excited to do the BTS for your short film that's coming up. And that March is absolutely flying by.
Yeah, fucking flying by.
It's only been a few days, but it feels like
It feels like a whirlwind already.
I think it's the short film timeline that it's just been like, oh, that seems so far away, and then like boom, it's like 2 weeks from now.
Yeah. Obviously for me, it's the short film. We've been working on it for months, maybe like 6 to 8 months. And now that we are, what's the date today? Today's the 3rd?
3rd or 4th. Yeah.
Man, we are 14 days out from production, like proper production.
Wow.
So freaking out a little bit, but we just locked all key crew.
Good freak out.
Good freak out. Perfect freak out. And we had all of our kickoff meetings and things are in like real motion. And I'm very nervous and very excited. The imposter syndrome is so real right now, but we are making it work. And I'm so fucking thrilled that you're a part of it too now. And it's just going to be... It's going to be a great time, yo. It's going to be a great time.
You know what else is kind of cool?
By the way, can I borrow your kettle for the for the shoot?
Yeah.
Thanks.
That's like almost like a celebratory thing too of a 1 year of like a culmination of like freelancing.
I did not think that a year into this, I would be directing my first like long format piece.
Yeah.
Ever. Like that was not on the docket. It was not even something I was even trying to manifest.
Cool.
But I feel like the 1 year was rewarded with this opportunity.
So the BTS will be released on this channel.
It will.
And then I don't know when the timeline of this short film will be finished.
We actually have some hard deadlines because we're trying to make it into this year's festival.
Oh, shit.
Yeah, so I think we're trying to have picture locked by first week of April, or second week of April.
You heard it here first, folks.
Well, it won't be online just because if we're trying to do this festival.
No, I know. But just like it'll be locked and people will know that.
Yeah. Oh, I gotta share this on camera. One of the things that I'm really pumped about this film is that there's this colorist in Toronto that I love his work, and he's one of the goats in Toronto in the color scene, and he recently signed on to color our film, and I think that it just elevated the quality to somewhere that I couldn't even fathom for.
That'd be cool.
Now that we're trying to make this push for festivals, man, I'm so excited. I'm fucking geeking.
Yeah.
I'm geeking.
That'd be cool to get even behind there. And
I've never sat in on a color session. That's going to be so fun. It's going to be so cool. So I'm pretty excited about that.
Yeah. What an exciting process.
Yeah. I think also combined excitement thing. I mean, for me in passing, but you got a new car.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
It's a sick car. It's an adventure mobile. And so
definitely, it's a dog adventure mobile.
We're going to be hitting some adventures this summer. And that's something to really looking forward to.
I will say, from growing up in a small town, that you just learn to really like driving. Mm-hmm. And I know that's something we share for sure. And it was really, really jarring for me over the last couple of years because of how shit my car was. I just kind of always felt this restraint of don't drive it unless you have to type of
interesting
thing to be because I never know when I'm gonna have to call CAA. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you better have that gold membership.
Yeah. So it's been a shock to be the other day I drove to drive.
You just drove.
Yeah. It was the day that I had that chat with Matt, and I was just I just need to think and just vibe. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it was refreshing to just spark that again, to be oh yeah, this actually brought me a lot of joy and played a massive part in my creativity, to be finding new spots, finding new outlooks of life, mm-hmm. finding new composition in the landscape of things. And I'm hoping that it'll play a part in the coming back too.
I think so. I think that car will play as a vehicle to your creativity.
Good God. Do we just end it on that dad joke?
I'm at that part where I'm going to be leading the dad joke, so I think we need to sign off. But you already know what it is. Thank you so much for tuning in, Creative Herd.
Yeah. Subscribe, comment, share with a friend.
Share with a friend, and let us know.
Leave a 5-star rating.
Let us know how you're doing too. Goodbye. Love you.